Jerome Powell about to spur the next bull market leg up? The CPI prints come in. We have some other factors. Not the entire thing broken down. When does the Fed cut rates? What do they look at? I have all those numbers, all those statistics. So we're going to talk about are we going to see a Fed rate cut next week on Wednesday? And what could that potentially do to Bitcoin and the altcoins? Does that mean the bottom is in for BTC? Will we never go under 80K again? We'll have that conversation. Also, some big news from Ripple with their ongoing lawsuit against the SEC. What are they looking for, and what is taking so long for this thing to be completely over? Also, a $2 billion investment from a company that has never invested in another crypto entity ever before. That has happened, and the beneficiary of that was Binance. Does that signal that more money is about to flow in to our industry? We have that and much, much more on today's episode of Sin City Crypto. Let's go.
Hola! It's your boy Big Rob back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto, home of entertainment, crypto focused content. Take old, boring, stale information, repackage the thing up in a fun Elvis Vegas kind of way. You know what? Today's a big day.
Wow.
You know why? Because the bottom is in. It's official. Tattoo it. We will never go under 80,000. It is. What? The bottom is in, man.
Yeah.
This is it, bro.
You really believe the bottom's in?
100%. 100%. Zero chance that we go under 80K again.
You know, on my show yesterday on the evening stream, I talked about another leg down for Bitcoin. I was pretty convinced of that. It was like 70%. We're going to get another leg down. We're going to get a relief rally up to like 86.5. Big bull trap. One more leg down. And then a move back up. But with the CPI numbers coming in today and anticipating what Jerome Powell is going to do, and like I said in the beginning, my little intro monologue, you know, I wrote down a list of everything the Fed looks at to cut interest rates. And I looked at the things they're looking at, and I pulled the numbers, and it makes sense that the Fed is going to go in and cut interest rates. So we're going to talk about that. So I'll give you my probabilities of whether the bottom is in or not. But first, let's start with this. CPI numbers came in today as U.S. inflation falls to 2.8%, officially breaking 3%, which is the lowest that we've been in quite a while. Also, it is lower than what the analysts predicted or forecasted. This is what it looks like. Headline CPI comes in at 2.8%. Core CPI comes in at 3.1%. And the stock market has reacted. Well, it was reacting fairly positively. NASDAQ is up almost 1%, 154 points. S&P is up a little more than 0.25%. And the Dow Jones is actually down around 0.15%. And so what are your thoughts on lower inflation? Do you think this is going to signal the Fed to cut interest rates next week?
Next week. The CME says no, but the inner me says yes. That's right.
The inner you, huh? Have I met the inner you, or is this the inner you?
The CME is something special.
The CME, but what I see in me is
we're
going to get a rate cut. You think that would be the one saving grace for a turnaround in the overall markets, not just macro, but obviously Bitcoin and crypto?
You know, you need more than one rate cut for it to be a turnaround, but it could be the catalyst, right? It could be what gets the ball rolling. And perhaps
I think it will.
Because the thing is that like these things normally happen in groups, right? These bullish narratives that kind of reverse. And so it might be the Fed making a surprise rate cut, and then, you know, lending becomes easier, borrowing becomes easier, lending, you know, incentivized lending. And we know that's positive for the economy, right? We know that people, once interest rates come down, well, first of all, the regular individuals, they save a little bit more money on interest payments. Mortgage goes down if you have a variable rate, and then interest payments on your credit cards are lower. It's positive, right? The economy rallies, and so perhaps the Fed rate cuts, Nasdaq takes off, and then you couple that with China buys Bitcoin or whatever it is, or some country becomes very pro Bitcoin, or maybe Apple all of a sudden takes a position on Bitcoin, because there's going to be some big headlines, right? Don't you expect if Bitcoin were to get to, let's say, $250,000? To do that, you really need some big companies, some big names, or big countries to really take a position on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what do you think would happen to the price if Apple said, hey, we're going to buy Bitcoin, hold it as a treasury asset, and offer custodial services through the Apple wallet? What do you think would happen to the price of Bitcoin?
It would skyrocket.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the things that are going to trigger the price getting to that $200,000 Bitcoin. And don't dismiss the idea that we are in a bull market and that we will see new all-time highs, and the new all-time highs will probably eventually get to that $200,000 mark, and that will happen this year, and it'll be off the back of big news in the way that I just mentioned. So for me, maybe it starts with the rate cut. When is that? Tomorrow, right?
No, next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
We have Mark Yusko joining us next Tuesday. So the first day of the FOMC meeting, the second day is when they announce whether it's a rate cut, rate hike, or rate nothing. So anyways, I have the breakdown. So there are 6 things that the Fed looks at for cutting rates. Number 1, economic slowdown or recession. Let's take a look at those numbers. It refers to GDP. Well, according to the Atlanta Fed, Q1 will be coming in at a contraction of the market, of the economy. Projected initially at a positive 3.5, 3.8%. To now, it's forecasted to be contracting by over 2%, close to 2.5%. So you can check that box. Number 2, rising unemployment. What does that look like? Well, that has been grinding up slowly since the bottom in April of 23, where we were at 3.4%. And we saw uptick in February's numbers from 4% up to 4.1%. Now, we know that's not a big number. It's not a massive jump. But as you can see from the chart here, it is still on its way up. So that's number 2, low or falling inflation. We already talked about that, 2.8%. Number 4, financial market instability or a credit crunch. This is from the federalreserve.gov in reference to credit crunches. What does that mean? That means, are banks lending money? Are people able to get credit? This is directly from their website. Bank lending to households and businesses continued to decelerate in the second half of 2024, likely reflecting still elevated interest rates and tight lending standards. Number 5, global economic risks. I'm not going to get into that. And number 6, debt servicing pressure. Okay. $9 trillion of U.S. debt is going to mature in 2025. Okay. So this year, the outsized U.S. national debt has ballooned to $36.2 trillion, and a staggering $9.2 trillion of it is set to mature in 2025, which is a quarter of the entire country's debt, raising concerns over its implications for financial markets, interest rates, and economic stability. So those are your 6 key factors that the Fed looks at when they decide whether to cut interest rates. So with everything I laid out, is the CME wrong? They actually went up from 96 to 99% of a do nothing. I thought those numbers would change to the downside. I think less people would believe we'd get a nothing burger, and more people would believe we would get a Fed rate cut. So to me, everything is pointing at, on next week, I'm about 30% we see a Fed rate cut. But I think as the numbers continue to come in, I think by June, I think the next significant one is in June. we should see at least a 50 basis point rate cut. And I think at the end of the year, we'll get to around 125 to 150 basis points, which, by the way, will signal to the markets that the Fed is out of quantitative tightening and back into quantitative easing. That's kind of my thesis. So is the bottom in? I'm about 40% that the bottom is in, 50% that the bottom is in.
100%, bro. Get to it.
100%, huh?
It's literally impossible for it to trash.
That's not true. But what are your thoughts on all the data I just gave? If you were paying attention.
We know what happens when you get rate cuts. We know why we get rate cuts. And you know what? It's sometimes.
Well, now we do because I went over it.
Yeah. But a lot of times you see really what pulls the strings on our financial system, and people love to think it's government policy and think that it's tariffs, but tariffs are more of a short-term overreaction in the market. Maybe it's a just reaction because hey, X, Y, Z materials are going to cost more. And so it's going to cost more for production. Anyways, doesn't really matter. But we know that ultimately a handful of people, particularly the Fed, controls the government economy, right? And it determines if banks are going to lend you money or if banks are going to go under. And so
why is that funny?
That's the reality of it. And so it's when we get around to these meetings, it's always a refresher to who really runs the world. It's a handful of organizations.
Who run the world, girls? Speaking of girls, hi, Ashley. How are you?
That was a strange segue, I must say.
Actually, that was a good segue. You said runs the world, the song, girls, you're a
No, I
girl,
know,
you're producing
I know.
for us
I
today.
have zero idea what song you're talking about.
What do you mean?
You literally bumped it in your car the other day.
You probably did.
You did.
What? Okay.
You're going to be outed here, man. Don't go down.
I don't even know.
The road is slippery, and it's not fun. We are doing a giveaway today, right, Robin? Go ahead and tell people what we're giving away.
So today, today we have some big headlines came out. Big headlines came out today, and so take a look. You have from Rumble. They announced a purchase of $17.1 million in Bitcoin. And what they previously announced was going to be their Bitcoin treasury strategy, something very similar to MicroStrategy, or now known as Strategies, company owned by or championed by Michael Saylor. But anyways, the company added approximately 188 Bitcoin to its treasury at an average price of $91,000 per coin.
Our rookie numbers, bro. I got to pump those numbers up, man.
Like, they got a lot more Bitcoin than we do. All right, so what prompted me to say, we will give away some Bitcoin on today's live show, which we stream on Rumble for our Rumble viewers, of course. And as of right now, we only have one person in the chat on Rumble, which
you
is
got a
Max.
1 in 1 chance of winning, man.
So, which I wrote in the chat there on Rumble. I said, Max, we're giving away crypto here, Max. Pretty good chance you'll win if other people don't show up. How much are we going to give away? 50?
Let's go $50.
$50? All right, so we're going to give away $50 today to somebody in the Rumble chat. And so there is a link. And so if you go to our X, there's a link to Rumble there. If you don't have Rumble, you have a chance to download the Rumble app. You just click this link here. It'll take you right to our live stream. It's the same damn thing that we got going on YouTube. The only difference is we don't stream in 4K on Rumble. So Rumble's a 1080p.
Unacceptable.
So if you're okay with downscaling it down to just regular resolution, Rumble's got you.
Why'd you do that to Rumble, man? It's messed up. Why can't we stream 4K?
Because it's a lot of damn bandwidth going out, man. We don't got enough. We ain't got enough juice.
We got fiber.
But yeah, go stop in on the Rumble chat. Say hello, and we'll pick a name out of that chat today to win some.
Should have Ashley pick a name.
Big shout out to Rumble, man.
Big shout out to Rumble.
You know what? There's a lot of censorship on other platforms, and well, Rumble obviously doesn't do the censorship thing, and very progressive, and they're buying Bitcoin. We like them. Rumble, what's up, baby?
Now the other one is GameStop, right? GameStop
Yeah.
is talked about. They got $4 billion in cash.
Hmm.
You think GameStop buys some Bitcoin? It becomes a trend,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It becomes
I
a
think
trend.
so.
One company does it, the other one does it. They see their shareholders are excited. They see the return, maybe not in the next 2 weeks, but they see the return. Look at MicroStrategy. Their average cost is about 61K,
Yeah.
2K. So even with the big downturn, they're still up. And we're talking billions of dollars. So, yeah. All right, let's move on from that Rumble news to some adoption globally. This was from Deutsche Bank, one of the largest banks in the world. They talk about, they're talking about the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve that Donald Trump just signed into with the executive order. There's a bunch of stuff on here, but what I want you guys to keep your eye on is keeping a national Bitcoin reserve signals confidence in crypto's future and could set international standards. This is something that we have talked about multiple times, right? Everyone watched that executive order signing, and everyone threw their arms up and said, they're not buying any Bitcoin. They're just going to keep the ones they have. They missed the whole point about budget neutral ways to acquire more Bitcoin. They missed the entire narrative of, well, if the U.S. does it, they're the number one economy in the world. There is bound to be other countries that follow suit. And now you're starting to see some of the largest institutions come out and say the very thing that we've been talking about on this show. Not that it's anything that like it was insider info. It was just very obvious. If you could remove yourself emotionally from what you were wanted and what you were expecting and really see, okay, well, extrapolate the potential of what this could mean, it would be easy to look at the number one economy with the world reserve currency adopts a Bitcoin strategy with a strategic reserve, and the other countries are going to be like, yeah, we don't want it. No, absolutely not, especially when it's a hard asset. So they're kind of going to have no choice. That's where I'm at. What are your thoughts there, Big Rob?
I agree. Other countries are going to have no choice, but you have to figure out like what is going to be the process of a country to custody Bitcoin, right?
They're going to use Coinbase, I hear.
You think another country is going to use an American-based company?
No.
No. I would assume they're going to hold it themselves, but you got to look no further than what we saw.
How does El Salvador do it, Robin?
I don't know, but look no further than what we saw out of the Bybit hack, right? And so the failure to improperly custody your assets, we know that there is organizations, countries, and just hordes of hackers out there that are looking to steal crypto. So I would think that if a country decided they wanted to get a position on Bitcoin, they're not going to announce it before they buy it. The U.S. was in a very unique position, right? They already had 200,000 Bitcoin, so they could say, hey, we're going to just start a strategic reserve, and we'll seed it with this 200,000+ Bitcoin that we already have. If another country were to do the same, let's just pretend China, right? I'm not sure if China custodies any Bitcoin, but we know they're not. We know that they're not in the top 1 or 2. And so, with that said, if they were going to come out and say we're going to start a strategic reserve of Bitcoin as well, then I would expect that they would preeminently buy some Bitcoin prior to the price rallying, right? That's what MicroStrategy does, right? MicroStrategy doesn't announce they're going to buy. They buy and then announce they bought.
But Michael Saylor does have cryptic tweets. Big things coming with the Bitcoin B.
Yeah, but
okay, when he posts that, you know exactly what he's talking.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Do you expect a major country to buy Bitcoin and announce it prior to them buying? They're going to buy and then announce.
I mean, that's what makes sense.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just kind of screwing yourself over, right? You know, you're basically going to announce that you're going to buy at a higher price. We're going to buy Bitcoin, watch the price rally, and then buy Bitcoin. Like, no, you're going to buy and so you're going to have to put all the custodial services in beforehand, figure out how that's going to work, what department's going to oversee it, what is the laws. And so I would just say, I think countries are going to buy Bitcoin. I just think it's going to be maybe take some time to mature. A month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, I don't know, something like that.
Speaking of countries, Mother Russia, the Bank of Russia, to allow limited crypto buying for investors. This came from their central bank. I'm not sure what the specifications are, but in the U.S. we have this term. What's the term they use? Qualified investors or accredited investors. Pretty much how much money you got. If it's more than X amount of money, and usually it's in the millions, then you can be a degenerate and buy Bitcoin. And so that is happening in Russia, again, kind of falling in line with what we've been talking about on this channel. And then we have this. Whales have accumulated more than 65,000 Bitcoin in the last 30 days, signaling high buying pressure from large network participants, according to CryptoQuant contributor. This is a Brazilian name, Robin. Please do me the honor.
I have no idea.
What kind of freaking Portuguese are you, bro?
I don't know.
All you know is that pastry.
I don't
read.
I don't read Portuguese.
You don't know how to pronounce that?
No, I never went to school in Portugal. I just speak Portuguese to my family, bro.
Okay.
We don't write letters.
You don't write. Okay. So he knows how to. All right. Anyways, the guy, he is this is his research paper. So 65,000 Bitcoin in the last 30 days. Buying is ramping up. What are your thoughts here?
I don't know, dude. I don't know. Everything's bullish. Like I feel like we keep getting back to the same kind of narrative. Like, hey, this country's buying, or this country's doing XYZ. These whales are doing XYZ. The bull market is coming, man. You know what? Like we can keep just putting, big headline article after big headline article. It doesn't change I don't have a new. I didn't like all of a sudden wake up and now I'm bullish on Bitcoin, right? And so the writing's on the wall. I think that we come in and we do this show, and a lot of the time we're just like, Bitcoin cheerleaders here, but we just need it's more of a reminder that, hey, the market is about to rally. We are in a bull market. We have a pullback, which happens in bull markets. It's happened in Bitcoin's bull market every single time, multiple times throughout the bull market. And so now is the time to identify undervalued assets. And if you undervalue Bitcoin right now, that's your hold, then time to buy, man, because the bottom is in. And you know what? Altcoins are at massive discount as well. I was looking down the list of altcoins that are down today, and you got Aptos and Hyperliquid. Those have pulled back significantly. They're leading the charge on the top 100 on market cap list. On the 1 week, there is plenty of discount here as well. So take a look at what's down on the week here. You got Cardano down 25%. So number 2, obviously you got number 1, which is Sonic. I'm not personally invested in Sonic. I know, David, you're a little bit more knowledgeable in Sonic. I haven't done the research. I'll just be honest with you. But Cardano, for me, what a steal, right? This was at about a dollar. What was it, $1.15 at its height earlier?
$1.30.
$1.30. Yeah. So this is something that on the chart says $1.20. Probably got to $1.30 briefly, but you're almost a 2x away from where we were simply 3 months ago, and not to mention we were at over $1.10 10 days ago. 10 days ago, you're at $1.10. If you don't believe that Cardano will get back over $1, I'm sorry for your perspective, but you're wrong. With that said, what a great time to enter. And so massively undervalued. Also, you can go down the list. You got Ondo down 22%. And so for me, I look at these headlines as conviction to the direction of the market. Because is there any negative headlines that we've covered in the last 2 days other than the tariffs? Is there anything negative that says like, hey man, you know what, this is not good for Bitcoin? And the reason I was bullish on the bottom is in is CPI numbers. I mean, like, what else do you need? I mean, the economy, sure, pull back. But as I said, these happen typically in the markets anyway. So, I mean, it is what it is. So
there might be some, I don't know if it's bad news, but it ain't good news. The SEC has delayed the approval of several crypto spot ETFs, including Solana's, Litecoins, 2 Solanas, 1 Litecoin, 2 XRP ETFs, and 1 Doge ETF. And so this is delayed, doesn't mean it's denied. I don't think it's going to get denied. I mean, what do you think?
This is the standard playbook, right? You gotta create infrastructure. You gotta create you gotta put things in place, right? You can't just unleash all of altcoin market on the stock market. And so are we going to find ourselves in a position where we approve one and then wait and approve another and then wait? I would argue the opposite. I think that once we're ready to not give an advantage to one crypto, I think that we get a basket of altcoins that all relatively launch around the same time window. I think that we'll probably get rumors of approval for Solana first because they're the ones that expire first for the SEC to make a final decision. Then I think very shortly thereafter, I would say within a week, maybe 2 weeks, I think you see XRP. And then the same kind of time window, I think you see Cardano. I don't think they'll all go live the same exact day, but I think within, I would say 30 days, 40 days, I think you see the launch of all altcoins. But I think the SEC needs to prepare, like, what is that going to look like, you know? And maybe they're delaying for regulatory clarity from the United States. I don't know that, you know, they just had the crypto summit at the White House. So I would assume they're working with regulators to make sure it's a successful launch versus, you know, we're only going to launch ETFs once, right? You're not going to launch ETF for Cardano twice. There's not multiple exchanges, you know? So
You think because the SEC historically has been, hey, we need a futures, and then we'll see how that goes, and then we'll approve a spot. Right now, the only futures on the CME are Bitcoin and ETH. There's no Solana futures. There's no XRP. There's no Litecoin. There's no Dogecoin. So, do you think that trend is going to be broken?
yeah, I don't think. So why? Okay, you got to unpack why was that trend even set, right? It was because the courts were looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it's trading on the CME. And what happened was when the courts were looking at the ETF application, particularly the ETH one, what ended up happening, or first it was Bitcoin and then ETH. What ended up happening is the courts were like, hey, the CME is trading this. Like, what do you mean it's not respected? Like, another branch of government is allowing people to trade crypto. Like, why can't people go out and buy it spot? Like, it's a legitimate asset. And so that forced the SEC to list, right? Remember, Gary Gensler even came out afterwards and said, we didn't want to list it. We think it's dangerous, but the courts are forcing us. Basically was his press release, right? Yep. Now, we're not in that situation. The SEC wants crypto here now, or at least wants to offer crypto services. They just want to launch it the correct way, I guess, would be my assumption now. And so they're not forced by the courts, and they're not getting leveraged by the courts to say, hey, the CME is doing X, Y, and Z. Why aren't you doing? Now it's just, okay, not even looking at the CME, and they're just sitting there saying, like, hey, what do we got to do to get this thing live and have it be successful? So I don't put anything to it. I think if Gary Gensler was there, then that would be a different story. But now that Gary's gone, I think that it just makes too much sense for the SEC just to operate independently and not pay attention to what's going on in the CME.
Let's talk a little bit about XRP. It's from Eleanor Tourette. By the way, I saw an announcement. She is leaving Fox Business, and I guess Say, the Layer 1 crypto project, they're launching a podcast, and she's going to be one of the anchors on there. So shout out to Eleanor. Congratulations. And according to, I don't know her, but from her post, she seems excited. Two well-placed sources tell me that the SEC versus Ripple case is in the process of wrapping up and could be over soon. My understanding is that the delay in reaching an agreement is due to Ripple's legal team negotiating more favorable terms regarding the August District Court ruling, which imposed a $125 million fine on the company and included a permanent injunction preventing the company, Ripple, from selling XRP to institutional investors. The argument, I'm told, is that if the new SEC leadership is wiping the enforcement slate clean for all previously targeted crypto firms, because it believes regulatory clarity will resolve the underlying issue, why should Ripple still be penalized? Accepting the Torres ruling as it stands would mean that Ripple is essentially agreeing to admit to wrongdoing, but now the SEC itself is seemingly unsure whether any wrongdoing occurred. There's no real playbook for this kind of thing, which could explain why this case is taking longer to resolve than the rest. Stay tuned. Now, before we get into the conversation here, we do have an exciting announcement. we've landed a couple of partnerships, and one we're very excited about is we're partnered with Nacho. So if you're a Caspa fan, you'll be excited to see this. Nacho the Cat, if you guys weren't sure, it's a blue chip token on Caspa. They're looking to really bring in retail mass adoption. They got the cat pool, which you can earn Nacho by mining Caspa, and then their NFT collection, which is going to serve as a utility. That is actually currently in minting now. And if you go to their website, and their website is nachowyborski.xyz, you'll see all the other products and services they have on there. So big shout out to Nacho. If you don't have any, I'm curious, if you have any Nacho, I know we got a lot of Caspa fans, put a 1 in the chat if you have any. With that being said, I want to ask you, does Ripple have the
fact that this court case hasn't got dismissed yet?
But do you agree with them saying, look, if you're going to give everyone else kind of a, hey, don't worry about it, we're going to drop the case, you should do the same for us. We shouldn't have to pay anything. We should be able to sell to institutional investors. Why are we the ones? We spent all this money, it took 4 years, and everyone else gets a pass, and we still got to pay a penalty. You agree with that? I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, like, you know.
But here's the thing that but the problem is the courts have already ruled, right? If it was still an ongoing litigation, they decided to drop the lawsuit in the same way that they did with all the other companies, it hadn't already been ruled upon, right? And so, can you go back? I mean, we see the government do it. We see the government do it all the time. They had
Just have Donald Trump give him a pardon.
No, what was it? You remember California was throwing the book and giving everyone felonies for possession of marijuana and things like that, and then they go back and then they release the sentences. I forget the term, but basically they didn't pardon, but they basically just let people out of prison for drug crimes that are now illegal or now illegal, you know, and at prior were illegal. So you could do it, I guess. It makes sense. But the reason it's taken so long, the reason the court case hasn't been dropped completely from the SEC is because it's pretty, you know, it's a big court case. It drug out for, what was it, 3 years? 3-4 years almost. And then now it's in appeals. And so I do think they're going to drop the appeals court case. And I'm curious to see, will they... Well, but I don't know, man. I have a feeling they're not going to drop the fine.
That's a lot of money.
I know it is. I just think that's
and the fact that they can't sell to any institutional investors. I agree with. I'm assuming it's obviously Ripple that's pushing back. I agree with them, man. If you're going to give everyone else a pass for the same shit, and then we know we had a corrupt SEC. They're literally rescinding everything Gary Gensler did, SOB 121, the DeFi broker rule, that passed by a super majority in Congress, Robin. A super majority. Very rarely does that ever happen. It's always Republicans vote yes, Democrats vote the opposite. Or Democrats vote yes, Republicans vote the opposite. It passed by super majority. So everyone understands that what the SEC was doing was arbitrary, capricious, and maybe even unlawful. And so to sit there and drop the case against Coinbase, against Uniswap, against Kraken, against everyone else, and some of them have been going on for a couple of years.
But
they should absolutely.
Let me ask you something. Do you think Judge Torres is corrupt and unlawful?
No, but
that's my whole point is that it was ruled by a federal judge, and at this point, it's just like it's been ruled on, man. And so, I mean, if you want to. I don't know, dude. I'm all for not having regulation in crypto. The less regulation, the better, right? But I am also realistic in recognizing that we're not going to be able to operate with the United States government. We're not going to be able to operate with the banking system. You're not going to be able to use blockchain to move, I don't know, IDs or important documents, and we're not going to be able to do that on a government level without regulation. And so regulation is coming. And so you got to play by the rules. If you want to play, XRP wants to work with central banks, right? XRP wants to work with governments. XRP is at the White House with the president. XRP is sitting down with the CME in their meetings that they had 2 weeks ago. And so you got to ask yourself, if Ripple is actively involved with the government, you got to respect the government's decisions, right? I mean,
I'm sorry.
it is what it is, man. I don't know. I mean,
But if the government's decision was based in arbitrary, capricious, and unlawful,
but okay, well, like let's rewind. Do you think that they sold the XRP token? Do you think they sold XRP to institutions in a way that was unfair to retail?
okay,
They had their ICO. They sold a ton of XRP to privy investors, and the price shot up. And XRP itself wasn't deemed a security. It was the sale of it was to high net worth and privy investors and institutions. And so if they thought that broke securities law, I mean, I honestly don't think that's that big a deal, man. If they said like, hey man, you know what, every sale, every transaction that's going on, like, yeah, I throw my hands up, but you know what, like, what happened after the court case with XRP? We stopped seeing ICOs. Thank God, man. Honestly, like, I mean, I always try to look at the benefit of things, like, and so. Was the court case unnecessary and dragged out, and a black stain on our crypto industry? Absolutely. It was ugly. It brought down XRP's price. It was unnecessary. However, there are some positives that came out of it. It was a different way of launching a new layer one, right? A different way of launching tokens, a different way of launching a blockchain. Instead of now having an ICO where only a handful of VCs can buy, now we have the rise of fair launch, right? We have all kinds of different ways of distributing tokens. And so, I mean, some people look at it as SEC bad, SEC terrible, everything they've ever done. Like, I'd argue, you know what? They've progressed our industry forward and changed the way that new blockchains release tokens. And so I don't think it's that terrible of a thing. And you know what? Ripple's got the money to pay that damn fine. I'm not saying that like, oh, hey, you got money, you should pay it. Like, I'm not in the camp of oh, well, rich people have money, so tax them. I'm not in that camp. But I'm just saying that, like, they can weather the storm. The judge ruled on it. And you know what? At the end of the day, the judge ruled in the favor of Ripple, so it was ultimately a win. And pay the fine, man. It is what it is, man. You don't agree?
no. I don't agree. If you're going to do that, go back and sue Ethereum. Go back and sue everyone. I don't know.
Okay, should we go back? Okay, can we go back and rescind the term or the prison sentence for Sam Bankman-Fried, because now the assets that FTX have would completely be solvent because the price has went up. Could you say that, hey, Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't being fraudulent, he was just being idiotic and didn't have a proper structure for finance and didn't keep other people accountable, and other people in his company stole money? If you're gonna go back and forgive everyone for everything they've ever done, why not, man? Why not say, hey, man, you know what? The people that hacked Ethereum, good job, man. You exploited a vulnerability. Let's not punish anyone. I don't know, man. And I don't think what Ripple did was ultimately some death sentence wrong, because they reached out to the SEC. They were trying to figure out how to sell properly. They were looking for clarity. They got very little clarity. So the waters are muddied. But don't get it fooled. They still had plenty of success. They still launched the token. They still are number 3 on the market cap list. They're fine, dude. And you look at Bank of America, you look at JP Morgan Chase, they get fined all the damn time and they still operate and move forward. And sometimes those fines keep them in check, right? Sometimes JP Morgan will fraud their customers or whatever it is, and they get fined, puts them in check, keeps things in balance, right? I don't know.
All right. Did we already go over the markets?
I looked at what was down the most on the week for altcoins.
Okay. We have some news on Avalanche. Van Eck is officially filing for an Avalanche ETF in the state of Delaware, which is where Joe Biden's from. Did you know that? Joe Biden's from Delaware. Anyways, we're going to see more of this. And what is that going to do? It's going to give access to Wall Street to some of the largest layer ones, layer twos, and projects in crypto. So this is overall bullish. We're going to, again, I think 2025 is going to be the year of Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. It's going to be the year of ETFs. This news was pretty interesting. U.S. Housing Department molds blockchain stablecoin to pay and monitor grants. The department, whose duties include overseeing social housing, has so far discussed the possibility of using blockchain to monitor grants. Also discusses the idea of experimenting with paying a housing HUD grantee using a stablecoin, which could first be tested in one of the department offices before being applied broadly across other offices. Two officials told ProPublica they believe the HUD blockchain experiment could be a trial run for the use of crypto and blockchain across the federal government. So I think we both agree that some levels of government or spending or something will be put on the blockchain, yes?
Yeah, but the government system is really outdated, moves slow, upgrades at a painfully slow pace. And so will it happen this bull market? I think we'll get headlines and it'll be used intermittently. But I don't think that we get this like big, oh, we're using blockchain now, we're a blockchain country. I think it happens little by little. I think it probably happens on the state side. We saw it with, going back to Avalanche, we saw it with Avalanche in the state of California, where they put car titles on the blockchain. I think the states will probably move faster than the country. You can see that right now with Bitcoin reserves, right? We have the strategic reserve, but who's moving faster, right? I think it's the states, right? Texas is right around the corner for having their own Bitcoin reserve. Who do you think is going to buy first? Bitcoin, or who do you think is going to buy Bitcoin first? Texas or United States?
Texas.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the states are going to move faster. And so what I think we're going to see is that local municipalities and also state governments are going to start using blockchain. And then we'll start to see a little bit of blockchain creep into the government side. I'd love to see spending tracked with blockchain. I think that just makes so much sense, right? To see,
we would like to see it, but
yeah, because you could see where your taxpayer, where your money's coming from, where your money's going, right? Because a current situation is that you get taxed, and then where does your tax money go? I mean, can you actually, like, if you really, really, really wanted to know, hey, I paid $15,000 in income tax this year. Where did it go? And it would be nice to say, like, hey, here's the income tax that the United States has brought in this year, this fiscal year, and this is what that money was spent on. I think that's a great way of keeping people accountable, right? And then you could stop running at a deficit, because then you're like, hey, we're spending money we don't have. We literally don't have it. Now we're spending money for it. Like, we say we brought in X, Y, and Z, revenue for the country, and the government is spending more than that. And so I think it keeps people accountable. They want to give a shout out to Tex-Mex Biomex on Rumble. He said, first Rumble super chat. He gave a $1 super chat there. And so, yeah, I think that's it. That is our first super chat we've received on Rumble as well.
Is it even called a super chat?
I don't even know what it's called. Or Rumble super, I guess that's what he said. First Rumble super. So, Tex-Mex, we appreciate you. And thanks there. For those of you watching, if you weren't aware, Rumble has started a strategic reserve or treasury asset stockpile, and they bought Bitcoin, 188 Bitcoin today by Rumble. So today we're giving away some $50 worth of crypto on Rumble. And so all you got to do is just hop into the Rumble chat and say anything. And then Ashley at some point will pick a name out of the Rumble chat, and we'll give you some crypto. And if you don't know where that is, you can look at our X post here under our X handle, watch and win. And there's the link to Rumble there. Oh, Tex-Mex gave $10 super chat or super Rumble. Yeah, there we go. Making money on Rumble today.
Yeah.
Hey, Tex-Mex, just send us another $39 so we can cover the giveaway. Thank you.
Stupid. Here's the link to Rumble in case anyone's wondering. I threw it in the chat. You want to give it away now or you want to wait?
No, we'll wait.
We'll wait.
You can't put it in Rumble. YouTube will get mad
Oh.
if you send people to another streaming platform.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're going to delete that, but.
Okay, go ahead and delete it.
Okay.
You know, one of my biggest narratives, verticals that I've continued to talk about has been stablecoins and stablecoin issuers, stablecoin infrastructure. And one of those is THETA, which got absolutely brutalized for the last 4 weeks. Funding rates were negative 300. Price dropped from $1.20 to 35 cents. But we're starting to see money start flowing back into these ecosystems. This is from Mexi. Their ventures invest in Athena and their USDE stablecoin to promote synthetic stablecoins. $36 million was the investment to accelerate the adoption of synthetic dollars within the DeFi ecosystem. If you watch the PM stream, I've shared quite a few of these stablecoin plays. Athena, I would put it in the A tier, A/S tier. You have a bunch of other ones like Convex, like Curve, like Asymmetry Finance, which I think is super undervalued. It's not even in the top 100. I don't even think it's in the top 200. Where is that thing sitting at, by the way? This is one that I've talked about as being backed by none other than, it's ranked number 10,407. Backed by Fidelity, it's got a market cap of $8 million. Obviously, a lot higher risk, but potentially higher reward. And the big thing hinges on, of course, the Fidelity. So this is one I got in. I think I got in at I bought a little bit at $2. I bought a little more, $1.40. This is not something as holds any significant portion of my portfolio, but it's a super high risk, super high reward play for me. And again, with Fidelity in their back pocket, I think once stablecoin narrative gets going, which I believe it is, it could be a pretty big play there. So, but anyways, this piece of news, I mentioned $2 billion, the largest investment ever in a crypto company. Binance secures $2 billion investment from Abu Dhabi's MGX in landmark crypto deal. This marks MGX's first investment into a crypto and blockchain firm. Through the investment and partnership, MGX and Binance aim to bolster AI, blockchain, and financial innovation. The firms also conducted the investment via stablecoin. So this $2 billion was all paid in stablecoin, the largest stablecoin transaction, I believe, ever. And again, the narrative shift of money pouring into our industry. Any thoughts here?
What's Binance doing with that cash? What do you think?
Well, are they buying BNB token? Is that where you're going?
No. It's interesting. You got CZ. He's more recently got out of prison. I think he's been out for 4 months now or something like that. And so I don't know, man. You almost had this stain on Binance for a little while, right? You had Binance.us shut down. They're back, right? And then you had CZ go to jail. You had questions with the BNB token. There was a lot of congressional hearings with FTX. There was a lot of finger pointing with Binance, right? And Binance being one of the reasons that they became insolvent was because of the FTT token. And there was you could, I know I made a big argument. You know what? The one that took out FTX was Binance, right? And so it's interesting to see that now there's, growth going on Binance, BNB tokens rallying, people, companies are investing, nations are investing in Binance. So I don't know, man. I think growth going on Binance, BNB tokens rallying, people, companies are.
That's you. I had the Rumble open. Anyways, let's go ahead and give away this money to the Rumble people. Ashley, have you picked out a name?
Oh, Well, I just now found out I was doing that, so hold on.
Okay, while she's doing that, we had a few super chats from YouTube as well.
You got a last chance. Get in a Rumble and put something in the chat, and we'll pick a name there.
We had a €6 super chat from Jesse. Said, "Did we all smash the like button? And did we say hola? No, please be kind and do it now." Yes, I agree with Jesse. Also,
And Heath though gave $5 super chat. He said, "Great work, Sin City." Didn't he win some?
he won. He won yesterday. I sent it to him.
And then also big shout out to Tex-Mex gave another $10 super chat on Rumble. So yeah, there we go.
It's not a super chat. It's a
Super Rumble.
Rumble soup.
Hmm.
You like soup?
Yes. Wow.
Ashley, did you pick a name?
I like Max the Bear. I don't know
Max
who that
the
is,
Bear.
but I like the name.
Okay. Max the Bear. Little did you know, Ashley still has a lot of teddy bears in her room. That's why she picked your name. But Max the Bear, I know who you are. Well, I don't know who you are, but you're in Discord. I will ping you, and I'll ask for your USDC address on ETH and or base, and then we'll send it to you, $50. So big shout out to you, and congratulations, my friend. And yeah, Hito said, great work, Sin City, $5 super chat. So we appreciate all of you. With that being said, Ashley, thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate every single one of you. Come check out the PM stream where we'll break down charts and fundamentals on your favorite project. That is going live 4:45 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, peace.
Sin City, crypto, everybody know we here for entertainment and info, gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in, for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in then you win, we divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David, I split the game but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite, I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners, special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners, ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors, they gonna teach us mean coins, they polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin, laggers we trade them in, baddies they came to sin, and sinners gon' play to win, screaming hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya, to the moon and to the solar, won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya, it's over when the finger tornado close ya.